Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Up Tre podcast. I'm of course your host, co-host that should be Samson Folk, the other co-host Trevon Heath, the tray that pulls up. I'm moving out of here. I can yell all I want. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. Vacation's coming up. I'm already kind of in that mode. The best thing when you're on vacation, when you're at work, you can walk around like, "Oh, I'm not gonna be here. You might not want to give me this. Oh, we can discuss this when I'm back." You already plant the seeds. I've been doing this for like 2 weeks, just letting people know not to give me anything. I can't commit to this. It's been awesome.
So, as just a quick thing, by the way, what we're talking about today is we will be talking about Bobby Webster, not somewhat elevated in his role, more so the absence of a role around him. We'll be talking about that, some rivalries that are kind of around the Raptors right now, and some trade stuff that's been bubbling up, and then some, I guess, retrospectives on trades. It'll all be time stamped. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps out the show. Thank you. But I had a tweet that said pickleball was fascist. And I think the funniest thing is there were two guys who had like the not internet response to it. Somebody responded and was like, "What a weird take," which is like somebody who is not really online responding like, "You think this is fascist? Like, why do you think?" Because I'm being a little tongue in cheek,
Yeah, of
obviously, and then you
course.
telling me like, lose the short little 6-inch inseam shorts and join Eugene and I on the court. As somebody who helps promote the tools of pickleball
I do.
and ping pong, which I did beat you at. How do you feel about the state of
Making such a
pickleball?
Mickey Mouse game. I all I want to say is
Was that
people who
wait, just
rebuttal.
quickly, was that the Tampa season for you since it was like an improper home court advantage, like it wasn't real?
It was. We were playing on a super short table. I was trying to keep it in play, but we'll play for real. Um, Anyone that complains about pickleball, you're the problem.
Oh
There's
Lord.
there's thousands of basketball courts all around this country, tons in Toronto, and every time when I'm walking to the pickleball court, it is empty. A lot of you guys, and I don't want to sound old just because I just turned 30 this year, would rather watch Kai Cenat enjoy his
You're
life
talking
than
to the
go
kid.
outside and play basketball. But me, guys like Eugene, we'll put on some shorts. We'll have a conversation with somebody. We'll be in rotation. We'll play together. And it's a quick way for anybody of all ages to play it. So if you don't like pickleball, you don't like your basketball court is gone, go outside. It's the
So
easiest solution.
I'll say this is somebody who visits my basketball court quite often. When it was before they renovated it, there wasn't a lot of kids hooping over at
Yeah.
Humber, whatever Humber Institute it is. But now that it has been renovated, kids are there hooping all
Hmm.
the time. Like it's a really busy basketball court, which I like. I use it a lot. Oh, I would be pissed if there was pickleball there. I'd be inconsolable. And that's how I know I've got my little leftist Twitter hub because that tweet was like far too popular. You know what I mean? I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, all my people congregating here." Speaking of having your people, the Raptors seem to have found theirs. So, just to set the table for this, they claim that they want a president of basketball operations. They want to fill the role that Masai Ujiri left behind. This is not true. And when, S and I did a podcast reacting to it, like not exactly live, but a couple hours after, and our we surmised that this was more so of a money decision rather than like, oh, the front office wholesale has been acting poorly or whatever the hell. Masai makes a lot of money, and you can work your way perfectly fine to say that the Raptors don't mind the brass doesn't mind the direction of the team, but they certainly don't want to pay $15 million a year for the top end of it. That's perfectly fine, sensible. And so what they do is they extend Bobby, and now he's the top guy, but he's not president,
Yeah.
and he'll be answering presumably. more often to brass than Masai was, and oversights change a little bit. How do you feel? It feels like a nothing burger, quite
It
frankly.
it's nothing. It's what should have been announced the day Masai
Yeah.
left, to be honest. It felt like I know they did like a entire search and talk to external candidates,
Did
but it was the
they
only
did
dis
they have to give CAA some money for, like, a tax something like, what's going on there? It's a
I don't
farce.
know.
They just say, like, "We liked the Pacers," and, like, they
They're like,
yeah, they're like, "The
"We'll
Pacers
interview
were
him."
good. We'd take either of them. Ask them." Okay.
I've always wondered what's the point of doing like a I understand the like outside spheres because like the job market is humongous. But like in the NBA, there's only like at a given time, maybe 5, maybe 7 guys that realistically is going to take a job. I feel like I know Nabil could figure
It's
this out in like 10 minutes.
well, especially for the top job. Like,
Yeah.
we know there's been, I can't remember his name, the ESPN guy who's an assistant GM for the Trailblazers. I can't Givony? Or maybe it was another guy. Either
Oh,
way,
I think isn't that Mike Schmitz,
oh,
I think?
Schmidt. It was Schmidt. Yeah, yeah. He's the
Yeah.
assistant GM. You could go kind of off book for that. You can get a little bit
Yeah.
creative. Maybe a head of scouting, you get creative, but nobody's like going off the wall for a GM or a president, I don't think. So, how deep is the prospect pool for that? And how long does it take to search? You know, the Knicks were like, we're about to do the biggest coach search in the world. And then everybody asked was like, no. And they're like, Mike Brown is good. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't it seemed like a facade. Hey, listen,
Yeah.
we're not under the thumb of Big Rogers.
A
It seemed like a
farce.
facade.
Yeah,
It
like
seems like they were just taking the piss, quite frankly.
yeah, I feel like it makes things a lot easier, especially when someone like loses their job and the person right underneath them takes it immediately. There's like the easiest thing I can remember is like David Blatt losing his job, and they're like Tyron Lue is our head coach immediately, and he wrote that. And that obviously worked out, but
That
I
happened to
think it's
me at Foot Locker.
what
That
were you David Blatt or Tyron Lue?
I was the Tyronn Lue. But here's the thing, and I wonder about this from, like, Bobby's perspective, right? Is
Yeah,
so the and not to get too anyway, the stockroom manager of Foot Locker, no longer there. They just elevated me into that position, and when you get your first job out of high school, you
yeah.
don't know how to go to bat for yourself. I get no pay raise, I get no nothing, I just get shifted elsewhere, and, I wonder if Bobby feels the same way. He's like, "Wait, so what's what's going on here?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. It was the choice that I wanted. If you're going to keep them around for the next 2 years or possibly more, it wouldn't make sense to integrate a new regime with different ideas, different philosophies than the scouting team and the current GM, de facto president in place. It just didn't really make sense. So I feel like they've always thought Bobby was going to assume the role. Although he probably didn't get the title, he's gotten more opportunity, and all the work that they've done prior to this isn't for nothing. There Nothing has necessarily changed in their philosophy and how they're going to approach the season. And some of the probably the moves that they have coming up heading into the deadline, maybe. So it keeps it keeps everything in place and it doesn't throw off what they've been building. So I'm for it. Hopefully he does well. Like the Raptors, in terms of winning trades and making transactions, have probably been like a bottom 10 team for the last few years. And we have a rabid fan base, and obviously we nitpick those transitions to the umpth degree. That significantly needs to change, and he has that opportunity. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do.
That's the difference between you and I. You're an umpth degree guy, and I'm an ad nauseum guy. There's two paths that we walk, and that's kind of where I want to take it. Is the two paths that we walk, the Masai path and the Bobby path. Because just to sum it up, like, I agree with what you said in that you would have to be really angry at where the Raptors are and the decisions they made in this past season going forward to kind of not want Bobby around. You'd want like a wholesale
Yeah,
change. But if you were more or less like optimistic and you see a way forward, then it does make sense to keep Bobby on and see how he does with it. But there was rumors, Grange reported it, that, Bobby wanted to keep Pascal, for example. And there were murmurs that, Bobby liked CMB and Masai liked Malwatch, and that, there's differences of opinion, obviously.
Yeah.
Infiltrate the dealer, find the Kawhi. Okay, like what I want to ask is, where do you think they've differed in the past? This is complete nonsense for the listener. We'll get into some actual sources talk in a little bit, but this is complete nonsense. We're just trying to infer, what transactions do you think Masai and Bobby disagreed on in the past? And I want to ask you, what do you think they've disagreed on outside of the obvious?
Yeah. I When you asked me this, the first thing that came to mind was like the Thaddeus Young trade. I think that the trade that was made is like the epitome of like what the Messiah Ujiri era typically was. A lot of
The second half. The second
sec
half.
yeah,
Post chip.
second half.
Post chip.
Yeah,
Post
yeah.
chip.
Post chip. A lot of well, I lost what I was gonna say, but a lot of just like middling moves that edge the line of both looking into keeping your future somewhat intact, but also helping your current guys. Masai, I think, to a fault, was loyal to that previous core, wanted that core to work out, and continued to allow them to stay together and try to see if they can make noise. But at the same time, also wouldn't invest enough to help them go over the top. And like the Thaddeus Young trade is a perfect example of that. You go down 15 or odd slots, you acquire a vet piece that you think is going to help you in the playoffs. That's a cheaper salary that won't have to trade significant. They traded Goran Dragic for him. You won't have to trade a young player or significant rotation piece. And it's another, here you go, Pascal and Fred VanVleet, go beat Joel Embiid. Let's see what happens there.
The pick swap is a killer, is the thing.
Yeah, and that didn't work out. I thought I did not think he was going to go that high, but you miss out on an Andrew Nemhard, and he's fantastic. He's still like the perfect player of like what the Raptors like even currently need to this day, to be honest. And because of a move like that, like I don't even want to say Thaddeus Young contributed to the one game they won in the playoffs, but
He did he
you go
did make
five.
Joel Embiid touch earth. He had that little behind the back, and I do remember
Yeah,
at the time that, like, you and I were both kinda like,
yeah,
I remember Lewis wrote some very persuasive articles built around the crux of net rating, that
ugh,
Thad won a lot of minutes in the regular season. And that team found its harmony post All-Star break,
they
certainly.
did.
Is that tied to, two makes per 36 from downtown on 46% from Precious Achua
That's
from
just how to
downtown?
mention.
Is that at all, part of it? Pascal Siakam making a charge to all NBA. That stuff seems more important than Thaddeus Young. However, he did fit loosely what they were doing, but also pick swap ended up, there's some okay players went in between X and Y there. Was it 21 and 33?
Yeah.
And it's just, I would like it if Bobby was against that, because I would think that's smart. Good smart guy going forward. Any other
Yeah.
thoughts on that one?
I just remember that day screaming like they didn't even get Lonnie Walker. I can't believe it. And like he's not even in the league. It's just like so many like minor players that like you think like mean so much to a deal that like
Yeah.
don't end up panning out or are irrelevant.
Yeah. Or there's guys who are irrelevant until they aren't. And Aaron Neesmith,
Yeah.
for example, right? Like, everyone's like, "Oh, Brogdon is the big mover and shaker here because Brogdon's going to go and give you like 17 and 5 the next year on a team that goes nowhere." However, Aaron Neesmith is, a really impressive part of a finals run just 2 or 2.5, 3 years after that. And the Lonnie Walker thing is funny, but the guy I wanted, and I'm pretty sure you wanted at the time too, was Derek White, because
No, also true.
I
Yeah.
thought, if you're going Spurs, you go for one of Derek White. Like, that's a guy of that caliber, and obviously Derek White ended up being an integral part of a championship team and, probably a way bigger player than most people expected. Apparently just an incredible shooter. It took him 32 games to get acclimatized to Boston, and then he's there, baby. He's just banging 40% on 9 attempts per game. My transaction that I think they disagreed on. And the reason why I can't think that like the Thaddeus one or the Jakob one is because those are plays that support the current like frame or the framework of the time. And Bobby reportedly wanted to keep Pascal. Now, is that some clever politicking by the organization to go, hey Grange, the guy who just won Eastern Conference Finals MVP and was, along with Tyrese Halliburton, went to Game 7 of the Finals against an all-time great team. Bobby actually wanted to keep him. Like maybe there's some politicking, but if we're gonna believe it, and it's the crux of all of this, I'm gonna go with Norm Powell for Gary Trent Jr., pro for Masai, pushback from Bobby. And again, listeners, this is fan fiction nonsense. This is absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and I would like if, if Bobby
I
was on that side because that trade ended up being really lopsided. I guess Rodney Hood as
Horrific.
well. Does Rodney Hood
Hey,
mean something?
I remember I wanted them to draft him over Bruno Caboclo. I remember that. Remember that.
Short
But
wingspan on him, you know?
yeah. I could see that like Masai was also like very, very loyal to players that they drafted and kept for such a long period of time. So I could see to some degree him being pro keeping him overall. I think just the tough part. It's
Was
hard to go.
was Masai that loyal?
Kyle Lowry never did get traded.
Yeah, but
I
that's
mean,
not he said whoever want like it was like
he
that Instagram story is like who want me and the poll is
yeah,
just 100% no. Like
yeah,
the Timberwolves paid Jeff Teague instead of Kyle Lowry. That's the
yeah.
Timberwolves hustling backwards, man. The Raptors
It will,
just kept getting to have an all NBA point guard because nobody else wanted to give him a max. And
it's
that
it's Dolan. He was like he's tricking me with some, he has to be terrible. There's no way you're giving up Kyle Lowry. And
I'm
they're
not
like,
letting
we
him get one
pass.
over on me. No way. And Kyle Kyle was could have been traded. DeMar
Yeah,
got traded.
he
He
did.
ghosted Pascal. He ghosted him. He ghosted him. So I like as I like Masai, you like Masai,
Yeah.
but and there's the press conference where he's like, his success is my
I was gonna
success.
say he literally cried for the man. Yeah.
Listen, man, people cry. People cry sometimes, okay? And Masai can be like, Pascal is symbolic of this, X and Y. This means a lot to me. But he also could have just been like, I don't want to give him the max. And those two things can exist for him.
Yeah.
And when he gets traded, he's like, damn, let me get some tears out. But and then call Jakob Pertl a top 10 center. You know what I mean? Like there's
Oh,
I would
what
go
a
with
bad
no.
day. What a
That's also why I can't think that Masai was against that one either because he with some gumption was like Yak is a top 10 center. And he's probably like close-ish,
yeah.
but there's been a couple centers fell off too since then. And we haven't had anybody like step into the fold besides maybe Wembenyama. We need
Yeah.
a couple centers to pop this year, if I'm
It's such a
thinking about it.
context it's such a context like ridden position, to be honest. Like
Ayton can
DeAndre
be
Ayton
there.
could be he literally could be the eighth best center this season because all he has to do is catch lobs and
Mhm.
block shots. And like Derek Lively, because he goes from Luca to Kyrie, or not even
None.
Kyrie, D'Angelo Russell could be like the 18th best big now, which
Yeah.
is tough.
Man, yeah. Regardless, those are the two we came up with. One other
Yeah.
thing I want to talk about in regards to transactions, and this is to clear something up. So, whether it's my mailbag episodes or whatever the hell they are, or the Pull Up Trade podcast, or our draft stuff, we don't report things and we don't get aggregated. but that doesn't mean that what we're saying on here doesn't reflect the intent of the franchise at times. I don't know things well enough to get it fact checked by like 6 people in the org to say for sure something's happening and be a reporter. And that's also not my job. I'm an analyst. But when I say like, oh yeah, this was the package for OG this year, New York probably going to be going after him next year. Like when when we are around the right prospects for who the Raptors are going to draft, and when we're kind of on the ticket about which players are in good with the organization at a certain time and not. It's not just babble. And the RJ Barrett talk that we've entertained
Mm.
is not because you and I are eager to see RJ go, but it is
Yeah,
because we think it's an accurate reflection of how the Raptors value slash devalue his place on the team. That's why we have this conversation because I think it's realistic and I think it's true. The Raptors are
yeah,
looking openly to shop him and are comfortable moving him. And whether there's a few RJ fans who like our analysis on him but don't like that we talk about the trades, sorry, but they actually this is real. And I just want to bring that up because Jake Fisher reported it today. And I just want to hit this home again that like
yeah,
just because you talk about a player being traded doesn't mean you don't think they're good. We talked about Pascal being traded while advocating for him as a player constantly. We'll do the same with RJ.
of
That
course.
being said, and I know because everyone was upset at you because you crafted an RJ trade. What is your take on all of it?
I think it's I think one is just like where we talk about a lot of different things, so it kind of just
Pickleball.
comes with the job. But I think it's just like you can see it through the Raptors like actions. Their core four guys are Brandon Ingram, Scottie Barnes, Jakob Pertl, and Emmanuel Quickly. They paid those guys as if they're their core four. RJ Barrett has improved in in a lot of aspects, to be honest, and has even crafted his game in a way that best suits both Scotty and him to some degree. And that hasn't reflected in an overall like in a contract or extension, or even rumors or talks around it. Their their approach to getting underneath the apron aligns with getting off of his salary also. It alleviates the large majority of their issues if they can get off his salary and convert it to something cheaper. And it looks like that's going to be their pathway, whether it's now, whether it's the trade deadline, or possibly next summer. I think I want to see them together, especially because the Raptors are kind of I think they're one of the in terms of direction, probably the most polarizing team in the NBA right
Big
now.
swings.
No Nobody agrees on there is no consensus on what they think about this team and how they're moving in their direction. So I it's sort of similar to that we the North era where you're like you're punching up to the NBA and trying to prove people wrong, which is cool to see. And like having a Canadian born player who's loves playing here, who's playing well is also awesome to see. Is something we've never seen before. So I just think like RJ, whether or not he's like on the team or is traded in a few months, like it isn't a reflection of who we think of him as a player or like how we think of his career moving forward. It just CJ McCollum, it just is the game that you've created. And let's all blame him.
That's that's funny. The Wherever RJ goes, he'll get a few watches from me every year. Or if he stays with Toronto, that's just as well. I also want to answer something too before we get into the rivals discussion. And by the way, everyone, Grady and Jacoby, it's still coming. We'll get to it eventually. We're gonna dig our heels in. But I got somebody keeps I can't remember who I forgot to reply to on Twitter, so we'll use it as cannon fodder for a quick discussion here. There was a tweet that went like maybe like 3,000 likes on it, saying that Scottie Barnes and Jonathan Kuminga are the same, like in the same
Oh,
grouping of. You saw this tweet, the same
I
grouping
did.
of player. Now that's been quote tweeted and pasted in my replies like 7 times because people want my opinion on it, so I'll give it. I think that is, and I like Kuminga. If people
Yeah.
have listened to this podcast, I like Kuminga. It is so silly. It is so silly to say that those guys are comparable players. The real Kuminga comp, both in, you know, situation and effectiveness, is in the Eastern Conference, is in a team that uses yellow just like Golden State, and his name is Benedict Mathurin, and it's for the other team I cover,
Oh,
the Pacers. That's the
oh,
real Kuminga comp, and it doesn't mean it's 1-to-1, but if you're Scottie is such both in what he's accomplished, how easy it is to see what he does translating immediately, and his development path forward. It's so easy to see, like, even for people who don't like him, s-
yeah,
being like way out and saying like no, never an all-star again would be pretty patently silly, I think, just to rule it out, even if you don't think it's a
yeah,
high likelihood. Ruling out all NBA, I think, is also a little bit silly. There exists that possibility.
yeah,
As we critique Scotty this year, just because you critique someone doesn't mean that they're bad. They're like you
yeah.
critique things. He's good at basketball. He's an all-star
Very.
level player. I and this is part of the polarization. People forget, man. People
Hmm.
forget. And we've seen it happen with, I mean, we saw it happen with Pascal, right? Like, you missed like 13 games to start the year. They're like, oh, he's over the hill. All NBA selection later that year. It just,
Yeah,
you just got to play the games. And that's why the Raptors, as a team, polarized or otherwise, they have like 6 guys who it's like, okay, let's see it. And those
yeah,
types of teams can have a big swing one way. They usually don't become contenders, but they can definitely punch up during regular seasons. This the Raptors should be good. They should like
yeah. They're gonna be good. I,
I excellent analyst, perhaps one of the best, Esfandiar Berhane on the daily NBA daily podcast. I know the name of it, on The
of course.
Athletic, said that they're going to the playoffs, and I believe him when he says it.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're gonna be top six. I don't think we'll see a play in game from us. Well, I know we'll save that for a few more weeks down the road, obviously. But even just touching on like the whole Scotty thing, like I think Cade Cunningham heading into last season is just like a perfect example. He has a couple middling years, or like I don't know if I see it with him, and then he pops. Detroit makes the playoffs, and they get to where they want to be. They don't contend, obviously, but like they gave the Knicks hell in the first round, and like that's like the ideal season you want from the Raptors. Like you punch up, you get to the first round, and you don't leave the first round thinking we're not in the tier of these teams. Let's invest in these actual players. And I think that's like fairly reasonable from this team considering the talent that they have.
That's where we'll take it, because you and I want to discuss. I saw this is based around, the Blue Jays allow us to. We had a Blue Jays centered topic. Last podcast we have a Blue
Yeah.
Jays centered topic because the MLB is talking about realignment, and
Hmm.
people were talking about like, and it would be four teams, right? And so they're
Yeah.
saying like, imagine Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, Phillies, like the division of hate. That
Yes.
I as a
Oh,
as a Blue Jays fan, I kinda want them to still be playing the Red Sox in the, like, I want them to be in
I get as a fan.
they're
I want
great
them.
games, you know what
They
I
are
mean?
great.
And, like, I understand as far as championship stuff goes, since baseball is such a high variance sport, you just wanna be able to get to the playoffs easier to give yourself
Yeah.
a shot, right? Like, the Dodgers are this unparalleled dominance team winning the pennant every year, and they still only got 2. They only got 2.
Yeah.
They've been embezzling money for Shohei Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez and Yamamoto and everybody, and they still only got 2, right?
Yeah.
But it got me thinking about rivalries, you know what I mean? And how
Hmm.
they're crafted. And so I asked you, what's the developing rivalry for the Raptors? Because they're gonna be good again. I'll go
Yeah.
first. I think the Detroit Pistons are a perfect budding rivalry option for the Raptors. The Pistons and the Pacers obviously have their own thing. You're never going to outgrow Mouse at the Palace. It's always going to have some juice.
Yeah.
But all of the stuff, and I said this at the time, if it would have ended up being Pistons and Pacers, the Pacers would have just like, it would have been 4 or 5 games. It wouldn't have seemed like they would have got smashed by the Pacers. The Pacers obviously are, we'll see what happens this year. But the Raptors, they're trying to make that leap. And the
Yep.
Pistons, didn't do enough to make sure that they keep moving forward and they're like ascending, they're going to have to battle to stay at roughly the same place. And the Raptors, everybody's going to be like, there's a pretty good battle for like 4 through 6, 4 through 7 in the
Mhm.
East. There's
Yep.
also Cade Cunningham and Scottie Barnes. Now, I know those guys like each other a lot, obviously, but they each have very aggressive, very angry fan bases. And since so much of our experience is online now, stan bases, they dictate a lot of the pulse of how fan bases interact with one another. The Cade versus Scottie, I won't be eager to weigh into it because somebody's in your messages saying die, die, I hate you. However, I think it'll make for compelling basketball and the amount of venom you want for like a good rivalry. And there's a pretty good contrast of play style between
Yep.
those two teams. The Raptors, a little bit more of the egalitarian style. The Pistons, a little bit more of that, heliocentricity around Cade. it there will be a lot of dialogue. There are a lot of stat head side by side tweets. That's where I'm going. What do you make of that?
I I think there's already like as someone who lived on the border of Detroit, like that rivalry is already there to some degree. I've been to tons of those Raptors Detroit games. They're mostly Raptor home games to be honest. But
Jeez.
people in Detroit for those games hate when people from Canada are at these games and are cheering for the Raptors. So I think some of that is already there, and I think having two guys are from the same draft class, there naturally is just rivalry of like my guy is the best from this draft class, and like for a lot of time, like Scotty was the best from this draft class. So a lot of people probably still hold those sentiments. And Cade Cunningham and like showed this season why he was picked first overall. So that those two thoughts clashing are gonna be interesting.
Do you want to revisit this really quick?
Yeah.
Rank the top four from the draft class. Actually, rank.
I'm gonna
Well,
stick.
include Franz in there
Okay, include France.
because
I'm
Giddy
gonna st-
Giddy is fake.
Yeah,
Obviously,
he is
Kaminga
fake.
isn't there, but yeah, rank
Yeah.
them.
I'll say Kate. I'm gonna stick with Scotty at number 2. Scotty 2, Evan 3, Franz Wagner 4. I'm still a believer in the upside that Scotty's going to give you offensively, and that will leap him over Evan Mobley.
I Mobley has an easier job. And
Way
I'm
easier.
I'm very and but Mobley's really good at his job. You know what I
Yes.
mean? This is I don't like the conversations around Evan Mobley. The same way you and I were like, this it's silly how Scotty's being talked about right now.
Yeah.
People get very quickly they get like, oh, Mobley can't do anything. It is not true. However, if I get to choose Mobley or Scotty, I still go Scotty. And I'll tell you what, Cade Scotty, let me come
Ooh.
out on the what the hell? Why not? Let me come
Yeah,
out on
why
the
not?
side of going forward. Maybe this is a little bit. I'm risk of I'm taking Iguodala take right now,
Yeah.
but give me Scotty.
Yeah.
Honestly, give me. I'll go Scotty. There's some basketball philosophy stuff going on here.
Yeah, those
Uh,
are
ah, if I'm going for it, do I just go Mobley too? Nah, Scotty, Cade, Mobley, Franz. Yeah,
mm.
that's where I'll be with it.
Yeah, that's not that crazy. I think because if you look past philosophy wise, like if you don't think Cade can be like that number one ball handler on a really good team, then that puts him into another role that you might not necessarily be as efficient in. Whereas Scotty can play in significant, can offer significant impact in several different roles. It doesn't necessarily need that. Like if Brandon Ingram assumes that playmaker role and he's doing everything else, that's still all NBA. So I don't think that's crazy.
March 31st, Raptors at Detroit. Do you want to try and get credentialed in Detroit?
Let's
Should
do
we
it.
should we make that a thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
Why not?
let's do that. Yeah, March 31st in Detroit, 2026. We should try and make that happen. That'll be like a fun little thing to try and look
Mhm.
forward to. That's a good idea. And you could
Yeah.
show me around Detroit because obviously when Josh and I made the trip to the finals, you told us go eat Jets pizza. But yeah, uh, your rivalry then. Let's hear it.
I think the clear big rivalry for the Raptors is the Orlando Magic. I think they have 2 stars that seem to up their play and add intensity when they play each other with Paulo and Scottie because 'cause they're both trying to prove themselves as this next era
And not
of
friends like Cade.
and not friends like Cade. Yeah, they didn't go to the same high school or academy or whatever. 2 guys that really are competitive with each other, which is really good to see and, like, adds to the overall rivalry. And they're also 2 teams that, like, the Raptors have adjusted their philosophy in the recent years, but have approached drafting fairly similarly. The Orlando Magic have someone that was in the Raptors organization for a decent amount of
Oh,
change.
Jeff.
And they've invested in these long defenders who can't necessarily shoot, that can handle the ball, do multiple different things. That's Paolo, that's Franz, that's Anthony Black. I think I told you this. Did you know that he had a D1 scholarship to Texas?
Yeah, we talked about this briefly, and both of us were like, "Really?"
I couldn't believe it. I don't
He
see it on the court.
he doesn't he doesn't like he doesn't strike me as a football player, really.
Yeah, but I guess he was, but like Jalen Suggs, someone that we both really loved heading into the draft, that like defensive minded guard that can pick up really high, which the Raptors are invested in of recent. So they're 2 teams that are both have invested in one, the Raptors getting Brandon Ingram, which is their push to hit top 6 or possibly even higher. The the Magic investing tons in Desmond Bain, which is fairly similar to like
And the
I say
Raptors wouldn't even invest the 29th overall pick.
insane. Just
But
it's
it goes the other way
similar.
too, because they took Jet Howard, who looks, and then
Oh,
Grady
thank
fell.
God. I remember when I was like, we were at the party, like Grady's going to Orlando. It's good. And then we cheered when Jet Howard got picked.
We also
Crazy.
lost our minds when Yegor Demon went to the New York the Brooklyn Nets. Yes!
Oh, thank God. Oh man. Just so like they're 2 teams. Like Orlando probably has a higher ceiling with their team, but they've also invested in significantly more risk. Like if Desmond Bain doesn't help them shoot up a bit higher, like they have major organizational problems. I think he will though.
You know who
The
else is on the Orlando Magic right now on a two-way contract? 6
really
assists in a game from the center position, your Toronto Raptors.
oh
Orlando
Orlando
Robinson.
Robinson. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
wait. He's playing for Orlando? Get out of
oh,
here. Get out of here, man.
oh,
That's silly.
that's
Has
hilarious.
this ever happened?
I'm trying
Has
to
an
think.
NBA player ever played for the city of his name? Surely not.
Maybe
This has to
maybe
be a
Did Allen Houston ever play for the Rockets?
Oh, this is a good
No.
question. I think that's a first.
It's gotta be.
Orlando in Orlando.
That's
This is
crazy.
we've really discovered something here. Wow. Hmm. Even
Mm,
Caleb Houston, but it's not spelled the exact same way. Houston. It's
yeah.
also not said the same way, right? It's like Houston or something.
It's like Houston, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he can ever end up on Team Canada, Houston? I'm thinking probably
I
not. There's too many good wings.
we're not good if he's on the team, but they could use his shooting, to be honest.
Because that would mean he jumps Sharp, Dort,
Yeah.
Matherin, Keyshawn George, Dylan Brooks. There's a lot of wings to jump over.
There's still a lot of time, but I feel like one of Sharp and Matherin isn't making the team for a guy like Keyshawn George or Houston, a guy that can stretch the floor, play defense, and be around Shea.
This is I did a podcast with our friend Jack from across the pond. It's not out yet, but we were discussing Team Canada for 2028, and of course, I for us, I bemoaned, Lasorte and
Yeah.
Yabusele. I obviously bitched and moaned about it, but I was like, it has to be Sharp or Matherin, and we both
Yeah.
settled on it's probably going to be Sharp at that point
Yeah.
in time. And I mean, Sharp could potentially be like an all-star. Probably not, but it could happen. And if somebody's an all-star, how do you keep him off the team? And he
Yeah.
also, I mean, Matherin is really good at some really tough things, and I think he would translate to FIBA pretty well. But I do agree with you that you probably have to choose one or the other. Uh, I would love because also we watched a ton of Scotty versus Paolo this past year.
Yeah.
I thought Scotty did an excellent job guarding Powell. It was
He
part
did.
of a lot of the when I was doing these defensive film rooms on Scotty, a lot of his best plays insofar as like playing deny defense, pressuring the catch, then like pushing off and backing up and covering space was against Paolo. He put in absolute shifts against him. And even going back to DJ Augustine, a game winner. Do you know how crazy it is that a chip run started with that?
Oh, so brutal.
Kyle Lowry, game
So
one
brutal.
of that playoff series, of that playoffs versus holding the trophy. Wow, what a turnaround. He had 0 points, man. You
Yeah.
didn't score the basketball, Kyle? This is why they
Mhm.
gave Jeff Teague your money.
He didn't even want to go to Minnesota.
Crazy.
Oh
It's
man.
a good rivalry though. I
Yeah.
I do think suspect that Orlando will be better than Detroit. I think Detroit and the Raptors will be closer in the standings.
Yeah.
However, I think that Orlando, there's a chance. There's a real chance. And of course, there's always that team that's under somebody in the standings, but always plays them pretty well.
Yeah.
And maybe the Raptors could be a decent foil for Orlando. They got some big wings, the Raptors. They have big wings to go with them. I really wonder how like a Franz Paolo attacks Brandon Scotty and vice versa. That would be very
His
interesting.
has a lot. That's gonna be some junkyard hoops. 'Cause it's
What tandem do you prefer there? I think probably I would Orlando's is probably more impressive.
like it's not a for
But
sure
if
thing.
Franz
Just
shoots 27% from 3, then
yeah.
no.
I was gonna I was gonna say because like they've built their team now to be kind kind of heliocentric around Paolo Banchero, which I don't necessarily agree with in terms of like his play style, and it isn't the most efficient overall. They've put them the Raptors, at least in their sense, have put themselves in a scenario where like if Scotty isn't the ball handler that they think he is, he's gonna slide in super well and be fine and still be a great player. If Paolo doesn't become that, I know he averaged 30 the last like 2 months of the season, but like in a playoff series where like there is minimal space and there is no air, and you need to be a great ball handler to navigate and get into the middle of defenses. Can a 6'10" guy do that? Is my question.
So, this was one of the funniest things. I talked about this with Abdel, but there's a Twitter account called @DLeefor3 covers the Hawks, and he made this video. His analysis is really good. And he also has like these incredible graphics that he uses. It's so aesthetically pleasing for a marketing guy. You'd probably look at him and be like, "Oh yeah, he's doing something right." But he made this video where he was talking about the play styles that Franz succeeds in versus Palo, and was saying why he thought Franz was more impressive because he achieves things more in the flow and it actually supports the
Yeah.
team and everything like that. And then Kevin O'Connor, like quote tweeted and was like, "This is great." And then he quote tweeted Kevin O'Connor and was like, "KOC gassing me. What have I done wrong?" So he took the cosign and threw it in the trash. It was so funny.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
what's a cosign that you would willingly throw in the trash? Like somebody that you think is well beloved, but you'd be like, "Get out of here." I don't you know what I mean? Actually,
well beloved.
I don't know if I would categorize KOC as well beloved,
Yeah.
but popular, you know?
If Robert Griffin III said my basketball takes were great, I'm throwing it in the trash.
Ah, uh, yeah, this is a tough one. I think Ryan Russillo, I would have a very strong urge to dunk. I wouldn't do it to Bill, but I'd do it to
Yeah.
Ryan probably. I'd have a little dunk, just like a little bald on bald violence. I'd have to give him a little something. Um, yeah. I gotta get beefier so that I can go head to head, like to be beefy bald boy, Ryan. So I could be the new beefy bald boy in basketball media because he's top beefy bald boy if I'm thinking about it.
I think, yeah, he might be, but most people like. I feel like there's an underrated amount of people that go to Turkey for in basketball media because like no one there isn't that many ball for people that like are obviously watching basketball to an extreme level, probably aren't taking the best care of their health. Like nobody's balding.
Wait, I don't think balding is like about how isn't it just genetics? Like I'll
Well,
agree. You see a lot of basketball media from here up. You see a lot of
yes,
and then as soon as it pans down, you see they got that gut on them. There's a
yeah, that's
like
watching.
they there's a lot of guys who you see them in person, you're like, damn, you got the wheel around the belly. But I don't think balding is affected by that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I didn't
I
drink so
thought
much Mountain Dew as a kid, I'd have a a full
no.
head of hair.
You know, I tried Diet Mountain Dew a few days ago.
And
Not terrible. It's not the same fizz, but a little fascist, but it's not
Mountain Dew, we're begging you, man. We need you on this
literally.
podcast. They're the bang for their buck because we'd be cheaper than a lot of the other deals they're doing. The bang for their buck, I assure them, it would go so far. I'd wear a Mountain Dew hat. I'd wear the
Of
merch.
course,
I would do it for the dew. I would be dewed out, man.
would do anything,
Yeah.
literally.
We're just two mountain dudes. I even climb. Many jokes have been made about this in my the Twitter replies. A mountain dude. Goose definitely has made that one before. Uh, 4 hours on a floaty. How do you feel?
Oh, it's great. As a guy who cannot swim, having an apparatus to hold me up in the water, I'm like, damn, this is nice. I can see why people just get in the water and just relax overall.
What I'm waiting for is for when you trust me to be the apparatus in the water. That's listen. Next summer, man, I'm
All right.
teaching you.
All right.
I'll teach everybody. There's like we have 4 friends who need to learn how to swim.
Yeah,
I
literally.
can do this, and I won't
You can, yeah.
charge a fee at all. This will be my penance to God.
Wow. I'm down to learn. I'm down to recreate that moonlight scene and learn how to swim and be the fish that I know I can be.
Exactly. Uh, anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
I'll say it next week. There's a slight chance you never know who's watching. No, not next week. 2 weeks from now, I will say what I want to say, but nothing right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. But is there anything I'm gonna do a podcast with Lewis for this Saturday. Is there a question you have from Lewis? Since apparently you say you listen, I don't believe you, by the way,
I
but I'm
do.
gonna
I
test you.
It's literally when Magneto and Professor X come together to
You're
do a pod. I just think of myself as Wolverine, like he's not really in the crew, but he's
can
he sort of
let me
is.
be honest with you, man.
Yeah.
If like let's there was actually I think it was Yosef commented this. He's like, when are we getting the Trey podcast without Samson? And you know what? If you want to do it, God bless. I will support it. Hell, I might even produce it. Maybe maybe more S type production than
Yeah.
But I wouldn't listen to it, man. Why are you listening to me? You hear enough from me, don't you think?
If I'm listening, it's usually for the guest. Obviously, I love you. It's for the guests. And Lewis doesn't do a lot of video stuff, so it's
Yeah.
good to hear his thoughts in long form. And it's usually me and you. I think because we obviously talk a lot, agree a lot on our viewpoints, and Lewis usually does not agree, which is good to see.
I think also our disagreements don't come off as like huge disagreements because we usually are just busting a gut through it. You know what I
That's
mean? Like
yeah,
we'll have completely different stances, but we're just giggling all the way through it, so it doesn't come across as like a tense like we're not doing Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith over here, which maybe would make the show more compelling for some people, but I don't have the heart for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I can't
Question
fake
for
the funk.
Lewis: Ask him. I actually would want to ask him about Jamal Shed pick and rolls, and if you think that if he thinks that it can advance outside of the short roll floater outcomes this season.
Okay. He had probably my favorite feature on Jamal this past season. He had a good
Mhm.
one. And that was the joke I liked where he messaged me. He's like, "Yeah, Jamal didn't know anything about like on off stats." And I was like, "That's good for him because they're terrible." And again, it's nothing.
Oh,
Listen, it's nothing against Jamal. Listen, players I like have bad on-off stats. Sometimes guys have like Precious. He hasn't even signed a damn NBA contract, and he had some excellent on-offs just for a smidgen of time. They're not the be all end all. I will ask him about Jamal though. I will.
okay.
And you can listen while you're out frolicking on vacation. I guess that's a week I'll do it without you, I guess. I didn't even
Yeah,
think
I
about that.
guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Yeah, just
I guess.
listen, just enjoy yourself. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not can you bring the mic, please? Please.
Oh man.
Like me. Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah.
That's
Enjoy it. Well,
pod.
listen, I see you all the time. We talk all the time. I don't have to tell you anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, enjoy your vacation.
Thanks, sir.
And best, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, listeners. Make sure to like before you get out of here, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Comments we're looking for. Yeah, rivals for the Raptors and rank the top of the 2021 draft class. I would like to
Mhm.
see it. People always love to disagree. Let's get it down. Hell yeah. All right. From myself and Trevon, whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.